Now, the 10th generation iPhone is pretty interesting because at one point, it was the most iconic iPhone that Apple had ever put out. During the time it came out, many phone companies were straying away from the physical home button and leaning into a future where the smartphone would have a buttonless display. And on November 3rd, 2017, Apple finally made the decision that would change the future of the iPhone and release the iPhone 10. And I think it's crazy how time flies because in November 2024, the 10th gen iPhone will be turning 7 years old, which is pretty insane. And I think it's even more insane because when you look at the iPhone 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, the 10 laid out the blueprint for what those phones are. And in today's video, I will be sharing my experience with the iPhone 10 to help you guys decide if it's worth buying in 2024. Now, the iPhone 10 is the generation that was cut from taking iOS 17, so if you are looking to get the iPhone 10, you will have to go with iOS 16, which can feel a bit outdated. And iOS 16 mixed with an outdated phone did not go too well. Like whenever I'm trying to close all of my apps, or when I'm trying to open different apps whenever I'm trying to multitask, it's always either very laggy or completely freezes on me and I have to restart it. And there were also slower animations at times, like whenever I try to open an app, sometimes the animation will be choppy, and it reminds me of how old this phone actually is. The battery on the iPhone 10 wasn't the greatest. I was unable to put it through heavy use, so I settled for moderate use, and even that couldn't give me all day battery life. During my time of using the 10, I will be doing simple things like playing light games, scrolling through social media, doing some script writing, and occasionally I was tuning into some YouTube videos or messaging friends and family. If I wanted to get through the day more smooth, I would turn on power saving mode, and I found it to help me a lot. Once my phone hit around 30%, that's when I would turn it on. When power saving mode wasn't on, I would be on 10% by 4 p.m., which wasn't enough for me to push through the day. On a regular basis, I'm getting 3 to 4 hours of screen time a day. This phone does have an older battery and iOS 16 puts a good amount of strain on it, so it's best to use moderately from my experience. Charging the iPhone 10 wasn't the fastest, but I didn't expect it to be. I would charge overnight and would always monitor my battery until my next charge cycle. The 10 also has a lightning port, which is still very convenient since you can get great chargers for a cheaper price. They're also very convenient if you've owned another Apple product that required the lightning cable as well. So overall, the iPhone 10 has given me a pretty subpar experience when it comes to battery, subpar charging speeds, a subpar port, and subpar on-screen time. I would say that it's holding up very well, but this is a phone that you need to know how to take care of. And what I mean by that is that the 10 is made up of glass all around, so one drop on a rough surface like concrete can be fatal and can crack your phone. But if you take necessary precautions like putting a protective case and screen protector on, it will help with its longevity. But besides the questionable durability, I feel like the glass all around gives it that modern look that holds up when it comes to aesthetics. Now, unlike the newer base model iPhones, the 10 is pretty rounded all around the base, the glass makes it feel slippery, and can be prone to more visible fingerprints. And overall, it's still one of the more comfortable to hold iPhones. The color that I have on the 10 is one of my favorite in the series. It gives off a very simple yet quality vibe that still looks really good in 2024. And even when looking at it in the light, it still keeps that consistency. Now, taking a look at weight, the iPhone 10 is the exact same as the iPhone 15. It weighs 174 grams compared to the 15, which is 171 grams, which is practically the same. It still was very comfortable to hold for a long amount of time, so whether I was on my phone scrolling through social media or playing a power-heavy game like Asphalt 9, I never had a complaint about how comfortable it was to do either task. The 10's aesthetic is very similar to older iPhones, while still being able to look new. It has one camera and an old school notch, but other than that, it's still a very clean looking phone that holds up nice in 2024. Now moving on to display, the iPhone 10 has been holding up very well compared to newer iPhones. It has a 1080p Super Retina XDR display that still looks extremely good in 2024. But the only thing that stops it from reaching the height of the 15 is that notch. Right here, you can see me watching a video that brings out the colors, and I would say that the notch is the only thing that makes it look outdated. The clean look is the best attribute that this display has. The colors were nice, the smoothness was great at times, and it still has some of that Apple sleekness behind it. The brightness is shockingly close to some newer phones. The iPhone 10 is at 625 nits of peak brightness compared to the 2022's Pixel 7, which was at 460 nits. Face ID is still very sharp and accurate. Apple has always been dominating the facial recognition game, and I'm glad to see that they've always kept up that consistency throughout the years. And now the last thing that I wanted to touch on when it comes to the display was just how well it holds up when watching content, movies, and videos on social media. Now the resolution again was pretty outdated, but no one is having huge expectations for a 7-year-old phone, and personally, I think it looks better when you use it in person instead of looking at the spec sheet. Now looking at the camera, the iPhone 10 can seem outdated, but when you get good lighting, it's been able to produce some high quality pictures and videos, and it's also been able to improve certain aspects using updates. The 10 has nice zoom photos, and it also provides some good quality that's holding up pretty well when the lighting is right. Now looking at the outside photos, the selfies were good, and I feel like this phone is older and the selfies have been holding up very well. The sharpness was really good, and it does give me some nice photos. I also took some photos of different things in different environments, and this is where the iPhone X's camera is at its strongest. The colors were punchy, the sharpness enhanced the photo, and this is arguably one of the best cameras in the game. Inside photos were pretty good as well. The sharpness stayed the same, the extra brightness was included when necessary, objects looked great no matter what the lighting looked like, and I was still very impressed. And now when it comes to shooting video, the iPhone X is worse than the iPhone 15, but it is better than most budget phones on the market, and I personally think that the quality is great. But there were times where the lighting would mess up when it tries to autofocus, but other than that, it's still doing well. The video stabilization was solid. There are not that many modes that you can choose from if you want to get creative, but again, this phone is pretty outdated and you can still get some great videos with it. So all in all, the iPhone X is a really solid camera that has good consistency, quality pictures, nice stabilization, and is doing good for a 7-year-old phone. And also, here are some extra videos that I was able to get. And alright you guys, that's it for my review on the iPhone X. It's a phone that holds up very well, but there are better options. The iPhone 11, 12, and 13 are around the same cheap price, depending on where you get it from. And all of those phones have better software and hardware that'll make your iPhone feel more new, and you'll get better longevity. And let me know down in the comments, do you think that the iPhone X is still worth buying in 2024? Let me know down below. And if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.